Okay, one, two. This is part two of the interview, and at the side, I'm just having some maps showing the situation on the ground. This is a de facto map of the ground, which again, de facto just means of the matter of fact, uh, and de jure just means by law. And obviously, by law, all of this is supposed to be Iraq, this is supposed to be Syria, you know. But in reality, no. There's different groups, like the Kurds control this, and there's Hezbollah, like there's different groups that control different things. And this is just an example of what things look like. I'm going to put this on the side. Now I am back with my wonderful guest who has interviewed lots of Israelis and Palestinians on the situation on the ground. Hello, Shia.
Oh,
So, you want to start with more of what you learn or what you personally believe should be
yeah,
the solution of the thing?
sure. So my solution personally, I personally am advocating for a two-state because with what's going on right now, a one-state's going to be impossible. Is it? Maybe, but there's too much tension, and I think there are things that I think both sides would want. You know, like
Right.
for example, Palestinian sovereignty, right, over the area, and Jewish sovereignty, right? And so Jews don't want to be a minority, They don't want to lose a characteristic of a Jewish state. And Palestinians, even though they're ones I spoke to want a one state with everybody there, Palestinians who kind of want their own sovereignty also. So my idea I had was, Palestinians can have the Gaza Strip, the West Bank. For a capital, it can either be a joint capital or East Jerusalem could be the Palestinian capital. Again, I don't know what would be good or not, but those were just some of my ideas that I had. The 1922 map that you showed,
Uh,
that looked pretty good. I don't know why that was scrapped out, but I think
to be honest, I don't know either.
those are my
But go ahead.
I know those are my ideas personally. But again, like I'm no expert on this, so this is my solution that I think is the most doable. You
Right.
know,
Okay. So for people who don't know, this was the entire British Mandate Palestine, and modern
yeah,
day. This is literally modern day West Bank and Gaza Strip that they said should be the British state, and the modern day Jordan should be Arab state. Now, right now, though, that's not what's happening. Jordan currently is this state over here, and Jordan and Israel actually have a decent relationship. And Jordan also is one of those countries that says they love Palestine, but they barely accept any Palestinian. And ironically enough,
yeah,
majority of Jordan's citizens are actually Palestinian. So
yes.
that's what.
I
Yeah.
I, I was gonna cut in and say I think I heard from the Egyptian one of the things that they're afraid of. There's a few things, but the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and so they don't want I think on their borders, right? They kind of don't want to make that their problem, you know. So that's at least what I heard from the Egyptian. Was it prime minister? I think it is. Like I could be wrong on that explanation, but I thought that was one of the things that he gave, among other things.
Right. Right. I mean, this area here is a vast desert, and there are rumors of like again parts of ISIS still having like places here. Obviously, Hamas being
Mm.
in Gaza. So this is the problem, though. Like you said at the beginning, let's actually. You said that this whole Palestinian thing, this should be a Palestinian country, and same with Gaza Strip, and like a road connecting these two or something.
Yeah, something like that. And then for capital, either a joint capital as Jerusalem or East Jerusalem as a Palestinian capital. Like I
Right.
said, not an expert, so those are just two ideas I spitballed.
No, of course. And this is the problem with that idea because I think a lot of people, including myself, I used to be like, "Oh yeah, just give this to the Palestinians." The problem is, uh, there are currently thousands of Jewish settlements in this area, Now, some people say, "Oh, that's
Get rid of
illegal."
them.
That's yeah. No. But here's the thing. Listen, we've been in this little tango before because back in 2005, there was Jewish settlements in the Gaza Strip. Israel literally forced their own people to leave that area. Which, by the way, in history, there's never been a time where Arab governments, forced their own people to leave. Well, Israel literally forced their own people to leave just as a sign
Right.
of peace.
That's why I think
And
as
no, and
part
look
of the
what happened
caveat.
October 7th. No, but look, October 7th. So now you're saying there's even more Israelis who live in all these areas. You want to force all these guys to leave just to give this to
Right.
Palestinians?
So I just had this talk with my boyfriend. Part of that you have to have Hamas out of the picture because,
Yeah.
Hamas. We know the charter. It's very explicit. Like wipe us off the
Yeah.
map. Like they want to kill. So like we also have to get Hamas out of that picture. And then see if those changes might do something, right? Because when my boyfriend kind of said it to me, right? You withdraw from there, but you also have to get Hamas out because Hamas is not going to stop no matter what. They have their stated goal. And if that doesn't work, I don't know, but like that is an idea that I actually am think that might be a feasible one.
Well,
It's like
obviously,
about trial and error.
no, of course, Hamas has to go. But see, like personally, I'd rather, and this is why I suggest this. Now, this is a very, very old solution, but I actually don't think it's too late for this one. I think it is better if actually uh, Jordan to become a Palestinian state. I think Jordan should be Palestine. Okay, because like Jordan, even even historically, this was all called the British Mandate Palestine. So for all the people who say, "Oh, there was no Israel," okay, well, there was no Jordan either. Like you don't hear anybody complaining about that, right? Um, and then I think, uh, like I know from Israelis that Israelis don't want to occupy the Gaza Strip, but neither does Egypt.
Right.
But I know the
Right.
fact though Israel wants to occupy the West Bank, and honestly, I think they should. I think all the West Bank should belong
Right.
to Israel. That's what I say.
Personally, I think that they should leave. I know we differ on this, but like
That's fine.
right. That's my perspective. But
Right, that's fine. Okay,
you
so
know.
tell me about the interviews. What did people say
So
about Jordan and stuff? And hopefully next time you talk to people, ask them about Jordan and the West Bank and see what they say.
so they didn't say anything about Jordan, but regard to your Gaza Strip, I talked to Israelis, right, who said that they don't want to occupy, right?
Yeah.
Leaders aside, they said nope, they can have it because at this point, there are Israelis I talked to that are just so tired of this war that they're like, you can have at it. West Bank, I didn't ask them. There might be some who would honestly say yes, like, hey, they can have at it,
Hmm.
you know, because the mentality with Israelis is that they want a two-state, as I said, and the Palestinians, right, the non-racist, they all want the one state, right?
Hmm.
But the reasonings for why they want each are different. So,
Right. And the Israelis, did, the ones that wanted one state, did they? Did you ask them if they wanted the Gaza Strip as well, or by one state meaning the West Bank?
they didn't say, they just, you know, I think because they just felt like no one would get along, so they just wanted the one state. I didn't really press much on it because we talked about so many different things, but I don't
Okay.
think it matters his perspective just because that doesn't seem to be common amongst the Israelis I talk to.
Huh,
No.
interesting. Interesting. Huh.
Like, I'm sure there's people who might want that, but the ones I spoke to are two staters. Whereas Palestinian non-racist and racist were one staters.
See, okay, this is so funny though, because you just said uh, a lot of the Palestinians said they wanted one state. And now you're saying you think we should forcibly expel all the Israelis living here, force them out, and give this to the Palestinians. Isn't this kind of repeat? Because Israel did this back in 2005, and now Hamas owns the Gaza Strip. You know.
Right, that's why I'm saying that we have to get Hamas out of there. Because I think Thinking about it from my boyfriend's perspective is that, like, yeah, you did that, but Hamas was in power, so Hamas is going to do what, like, Hamas, like, likes to do, That if you did it differently and Hamas was out of the picture, right, and things might be different. If not, then, oh well, we tried, but...
Okay, that's an interesting perspective.
Because my boyfriend brought that up to me, that, like, I didn't think about it that way, but...
Okay.
Because for me, I'm all for trial and error. Seeing what works and what doesn't. What's feasible, what's not. And if it doesn't work, then fuck me. I tried. And we gotta go back to the drawing board.
Right. Okay, fair.
So.
Now, when do you think this war is gonna end? Did you ask people?
I don't know.
No, did you ask people about this?
I didn't. Oh, actually, I did. So some Israelis think never. Others said a couple months. Palestinians, I didn't ask. I should have.
Yeah.
But I would like it to end soon, because I talked to Israeli about this. We both echo out the same sentiments too. Palestinians, same thing. The non-racist ones, that is. I want to make a distinction. Non-racist Israelis, non-racist Palestinians. It's not good for kids.
Of course not.
It's really not. No matter whether you're pro no matter what side you're on, you see those videos, right? The kids, you see everything. I'm like, kids shouldn't have to be living like this. Kids should be in school. They should be able to, have a future, be a doctor, be whatever it is they want to do, right? Not have to see dead family members, rubble, their hospitals getting, and regardless of, who's going to place blame on who, right? That doesn't matter, right? Who the audience wants to place blame on who. But the point is, if I were there, I would not want that. I would not want to send my kids off to the army. I also wouldn't want my kids to deal with rubble. Like, neither situation is good for anybody.
Right.
And it impacts the civilians in there that just want to live their life. So, I personally would like it to end, obviously. But that's not up to me.
Of course.
I don't make the shots, so.
Right. Okay, did you speak to any, like, Arabs that weren't Palestinian? And ask them about the situation? Just Arabs in general.
Well, Arabs are going to be Palestinian, right? Arab Israelis they're I guess Palestinian by default. So
no, what I'm saying,
they're not
Arabs from Egypt.
Oh, Druze. Actually, sorry, Druze.
You just speak to Druze, okay?
Yeah, sorry, I said I didn't. Yeah, Druze. So Druze are very nationalistic.
But like
Druze
Palestinian
are
nationalistic or Israeli nationalistic? The word nationalistic.
Israeli nationalistic.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Israeli nationalistic.
Yeah.
So Druze, because I've encountered many racists before. But what came out of the Druze was so shocking to me. But for Israelis, they say that's normal, like, rhetoric from them. And they said they wanted to kill all the Arabs, like, bomb them. They didn't care. Because, again, they're pissed by October 7th. They're pissed by everything else. And, like, I tried to talk to them and said, whoa, no.
Right.
It didn't really work out because they, didn't quite agree with me. And, like, even, like, I was just so shocked, because I talked to a Palestinian about this from Jerusalem, and they said, well, aren't they Arab too?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but they hate other Arabs. And what I heard from an Israeli was because they were screwed over by the Muslims back in time. So that could be where that sentiment's coming from, but it's just, it just boggles my mind because I used to think, right, that I would only encounter mostly Palestinian racist, but I found that the Israelis were no better. Some of them.
That's so funny because I have yet to meet an Israeli, like Israelis. I've never met a racist one, but I guess maybe I gotta look more. But
right, I think you know what it is. Again, it's the anger over October, like,
maybe.
and everything else.
Okay, so let me ask you this:
It's
Christians. Did you speak to any Christians?
I did. Our Christians, yes.
So any, like, Israeli Christians, Arab Christians, yeah. What did they say?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So the Arab Christians, they are very connected with Israel.
Of course.
They say that they identify as Israeli because they're born here, their passports, they pay taxes, they have their IDs, it's in Arabic and Hebrew, and they feel like they have equal rights. They have equal rights here.
Yeah.
And so they feel like they could be doctors, lawyers, they could do, what they want. And so if they had a prospect of living in an Arab country, like Arab controlled, they're like, no, they don't want that. And for the two Arab Christians, they live in a village called, I think it's Tama or something like that.
Is it in Israel or is it in the West Bank?
Yeah, no, it's in Israel.
Okay.
And they live in this little village, right? There's like mafia, there's all this like stuff. And one of their friends said they feel like they're treated equally, right? Both Christians, Muslims, they all, get treated. The other guy said no, but they gave us the home and we have a roof over our head and we're blessed to be in this place. We got food, water, everything else. So they're just kind of grateful. So,
well, that's funny. Every Christian I've met, whether they're Israeli or non-Israeli or whatever, but they're usually either pro-Israel or they're just neutral. Like I've never met a Christian that's pro-Palestine. Have you? Like, have you met a Christian that's just pro-Palestine? Because I've never met.
yeah, they're out there. Yeah, they're just like any demographic. Yeah.
So you have
there.
Christians that are anti-Israel? I've never met a Christian anti-Israel.
Yeah, if you go on Reddit, you go, yeah, they're there, yeah. You just don't think of them that way because we look at evangelicals and other things. But yeah, no, they exist, just like in every...
No, not just evangelicals, but like, the funny thing is, like, in the Muslim world, Christians don't have a good time. Maybe in, like, Indonesia, like, that's, like, one of the few Muslim countries I can think of that treats Christians well. But, like, Christians, I know for a fact Christians don't do well in Iran, for example.
No, they don't. In a lot of places where they're minor, not at all. And I would say probably same for Gaza Strip too. Like, because you're a religious minority. So yeah,
okay, so that's the thing. So you just said Christians can barely survive in the Gaza Strip. So how come there's Christians that are pro-Gaza?
Like, I would think that's the case because they're a religious minority. But again, I'm only going by like vibes alone. Like, I don't know for a fact how they're treated, but I think I've heard Hamas doing that. I don't know. Again, like,
right.
I could be completely talking out of my ass about that, but.
Okay, did you interview any atheists or just non-Christian Jews or Muslims on this topic?
No atheist. I mean, I don't know, maybe some of these Jews don't believe in God, so de facto they would be atheists, but they never like identified with me that they're atheist. So
okay, yes, but Hindu, Buddhist, did you talk to anybody else about this situation?
no, because if they're Israel or Palestinian, chances are they're probably not going to be Hindu or Buddhist. To be fair.
Well, there was a few Buddhists that were kidnapped by Hamas. There was.
Well, yes, but I don't. If they're kidnapped by, I don't think they're going to be here on Omi TV talking.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. But I'm just saying, like, because Hamas, surprisingly, like that was an international like concert. It was like a concert for peace, actually. So like.
Right, and what's
ironically, ironically, they kidnapped a lot of like international people. It wasn't just Israelis. They kidnapped like Christians.
Well, yes. But also the other thing is they kidnap some peace activists, right? One of them like transports Gazans to hospitals.
Yeah.
And my dad was just telling me this, that those people that were just so hopeful pro peace, after they're like their whole entire like I guess worldview that they had kind of got shattered.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Not to say that they're not for peace, but they're a lot more like skeptical. They became like a lot less hopeful because I think because Hamas even can, and it's not like Hamas cares. They did it with Bedouins, Muslims that were Bedouins. It's not like they make a distinction between who's who, like who's a peace activist, who's not. Like anybody can be a target.
Right.
So.
I did. Wow.
But interesting thing, actually, I want to add something.
Go ahead, yeah.
So I talked to some Israelis, right, about the different terrorist groups, right? And so we have the Houthis, right, in Yemen. Israelis don't see Houthis as a big threat, right? Just maybe like a little annoying fly
there you go.
that buzzes around.
That
just do whatever. Yeah, I see the stream.
The Houthis, yeah. All of this is Yemen, but the Houthis only control this part. Yeah.
Now they see Hamas as the big bosses, right? So I mentioned that there's a bunch of militant groups, right? You have the PFLP, the People's Front for the Liberation of Palestine, DFLP, the Democratic People's Front for the Liberation of Palestine, right? These are Marxist-Leninist groups. You have Lion's Den. You have well, Hamas, that's with the Al-Qassam brigades, right? You have night riots, the Jenin brigades in the West Bank. All of them kind of take after Hamas. So if Hamas is out of the picture, then those groups are kind of weak because they look to Hamas for all the, directions on what to do. But they said Hezbollah is the bigger threat. Hezbollah is in Lebanon.
It is, yeah. Hezbollah.
So, right,
Just so
so
you
a lot of
know,
us told me that,
Hezbollah is
yeah,
the biggest military without a nation. Like that's a thing. Like it's
yes,
the biggest. Yeah.
and they're a Shia group.
Yes.
So they get funding, like Hamas, they get funding from Iran.
Right.
Hamas gets funding from Qatar. I think Russia gives them funding. China, I think North Korea, right? That like those countries,
Yeah.
give them weapons. And what they said was the Hamas weapons, right? They're homemade, so they're cheap. They're sugar, water, like just really cheap materials, right?
Right.
So those rockets can misfire anywhere because they're super cheap. They can go anywhere. But Hezbollah has better weaponry, right? That can actually do more damage compared to the Hamas rockets. And so I think that could be why they see Hezbollah as the bigger threat, and they're bigger compared to Hamas. So that's
Yes, of course. And the sad reality is also the fact that Turkey, who is a member of NATO, is also one of the funders of Hamas. And
yes, unfortunately, yes, Erdogan, yeah.
yeah, so Iran, because the thing with Iran is, keep in mind, like Iran has the Houthis over here, and they're Shia. Iran is the biggest Shia country in the world, and Hezbollah is Shia, and there are groups within Syria and Iraq that are Shia, and Iran pretty much is the number one funder and controller.
Right.
While
And
Hamas is Sunni,
I guess to make a,
so you know.
yeah, they're Sunni. So to make a joke, they have supporters here in the West, so they're no shortage of people who.
Well, that too, yeah, they also have supporters. Ironically enough, Qatar actually is quite rich, and yeah, they have
Qatar is a very rich country.
very. They've been funded like
Qatar has Al Jazeera.
yeah.
And Al Jazeera Arabic is its own special thing. Um, like people don't realize, like with like Hamas and stuff, like kind of like with any group, Al Jazeera kind of does similar stuff where they have a message out for the Western world and one out in Arabic, right? They have a target audience. So when people talk about the 2017 charter, the 2017 charter is the westernized one. I don't think they've ever condemned the 1988 one. So as far as they're concerned, that's all out on the table. The 20 is for the Westerners. It's for the dumb Muslim extremist or the Marxist-Leninist, right? We're gonna look at that and be like, oh my God, Hamas isn't evil. Look what they wrote in the charter. But like, there's glaring errors. There's things that they write in there that's absolutely like not true if you know anything about them, right? There are things that you can trust Hamas on. The 2017 charter isn't one of them. So it's just, like they make their stated intention pretty clear, like,
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just interesting, yeah, because it's so explicit.
Of course. Was there any while you were interviewing them, were there any Palestinians who said they love Iran, or any Israelis that says they hate Iran, or they just focused on Hamas and Hezbollah?
They just focus on Hamas, Hezbollah. They didn't say anything about Iran. They had no mention about that. But I think Israelis would not like Iran because Iran, funds Hamas. Hezbollah, I assume too. And like,
Yeah.
I guess going back to Qatar, I remember what I was trying to say now is, Al Jazeera also like, Qatari funded. And, sometimes I see from like some of the journalists that are like doing, pro Hamas stuff, as they do. But yes, Israelis wouldn't like Iran, They wouldn't like anyone that's directly giving arms to, Iran. Or sorry, Hamas. Palestinians, they did not say anything about that. I didn't ask. I could ask, but
Okay, well, next time, then yeah, add them about what they think of Iran, but also obviously ask them about the what part of what state and Jordan should that be Palestine or should Jordan be separate? Um,
yeah, what the borders look like.
yeah, because
Do you have like other
again,
questions?
not that I could think of. I mean, I know we're gonna have a part three and maybe even a part four, but uh, the main thing is also like there's more Palestinians in Jordan than Jordanians. Like Palestinians are a majority in Jordan, so like please bring that up to them next time.
Yeah, they have the largest refugees. I don't think Lebanon has any Palestinians.
Not sure.
I heard from somebody that they're not treated very well in Lebanon.
Israelis or both actually.
No, Palestinians are not.
Actually, I don't think either of them are. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, yeah, neither. I mean, God,
Like
like, but
the two things they have in common: they don't get treated in Lebanon, and they also both like or they both hate pork. That's another thing they have in common.
yeah. Also, another thing, about the people. So interestingly enough, I actually had a fear. I actually wanted to tell your audience, right? The fear that I had, which was I was actually afraid of telling some Palestinians I was Jewish. Very, very afraid, actually.
Why
You know.
they would find your IP or something?
No, I was just worried like they might just be anti-Semitic, right? And
Right.
you know, and so my boyfriend kind of encouraged me, right, to go and tell them. And so I realized, I filtered out which Palestinians were safe to say it to. Which ones, weren't like shilling for Hamas or doing that kind of stuff. And the ones I told it to, oh, they were really nice. In fact, one joked around with me that I was a self-hating Jew because I said Jews love to argue. Like, I was like, Jews, like my dad likes to argue. I mean, my dad might be fitting the Jewish stereotype, but I hear him yell and I hear him like argue. I hear him argue about this very subject. Oh my God.
Okay. Well, you know what? That's a good funny note to end on. I'm gonna put the links to all your research in the bottom, and yeah, for next time, like see the videos, watch yourself on the video, and tell me if you think there's anything else you
Yeah,
missed. All right.
yeah. Okay. All right, sounds good.
Is there any
Bye bye.
Do you know any Hebrew?
So I know Shalom. I know Boker Tov. I know Shana Tova, Mazel Tov.
Okay. Do you know Am Israel Chai?
I do. Yep. I'm Israel
Okay.
High.
Good.